Hey everyone, welcome to our deep dive into what it takes to not just survive, but really thrive as a first year associate lawyer.
Yeah,
It's a big leap, right? Tons of new stuff to figure out.
definitely a big transition. But we're going to break it all down so you feel confident tackling those first year challenges and setting yourself up for a successful legal career. Not just year one, but beyond.
Love that long-term thinking. And to get us there, we've got a pretty awesome stack of sources here. The classic, first year associate lawyer's guide, of course.
Okay, I have that one.
Right. But also some articles from the American Bar Association. They always have good insights, plus some career website tips. And okay, this is where it gets fun. We even dug into some Reddit forums for some real lawyer talk.
Got to hear it straight from those who've been in the trenches, right? Sometimes that's the most valuable advice.
Totally agree. So let's dive right in. First things first, what exactly does an associate lawyer actually do all day? Our guide breaks it down into research, drafting documents, client communication, like all the essentials. But it's got to be more than just checking boxes, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's about understanding how all those tasks fit into the bigger legal landscape. Think about it like this. Legal research. It's not just some abstract exercise. You're finding precedents, building arguments that could seriously impact someone's life, their business, everything.
So it's kind of like remembering the why behind all the work can actually change how you approach it.
Exactly. When you see that direct link between your daily tasks and the real-world impact they have on people, well, it becomes more than just a job. It becomes a purpose.
That's a really good point. Okay, now for the question probably on everyone's mind, billable hours. Our source from Practice Panther mentions that first years are usually looking at 1,700 to 2,000 billable hours per year. What does that actually look like day to day?
Okay, real talk. It's long hours, probably some weekend work too. And being amazing at time management is non-negotiable. Just to give you an idea, a typical day might be something like researching for a partner's brief, then drafting a motion for a client's case, squeezing in some calls to keep clients updated on progress, and all while tracking your time for each little thing.
Wow, that's intense. But I did also see some stuff about firms starting to put more emphasis on well-being, even work-life balance for new lawyers. Is that really happening?
It is. It is. There's definitely a shift going on. Younger generations are prioritizing those things, and firms are getting it. They're realizing burned out lawyers just don't perform as well. So more flexibility, more support, it's starting to become the norm.
Okay, so maybe not all doom and gloom then. That's good to hear. I came across this article, 17 Things I Wish I Knew. Some serious gold nuggets in there. Three things really jumped out at me. Being a finisher, owning your mistakes, and taking vacations. Seems a bit counterintuitive for a first-year lawyer, no.
Yeah, on the surface, maybe. But these are key for long-term success. Finisher means you deliver, you get things done. It's the results that matter, not just the hours. Owning your mistakes shows you're mature, you're willing to learn, which is huge in this profession. And vacations. It's not slacking off. It's burnout prevention. Maintaining that peak performance. Especially for those of you coming from a more balanced lifestyle, keeping your well-being front and center is crucial.
So it's about the long game, both with your work and with yourself. I like that.
Exactly. This first year is about laying a really strong foundation for your career, and part of that foundation is taking care of you.
Speaking of foundations, let's talk about something I know tons of new lawyers face. Imposter syndrome. Our Reddit source, people were saying they felt like they didn't belong, like they weren't good enough. How common is this?
It's crazy common, especially in a field like law where everyone's achieved so much. But remember, you earned your spot here. You passed the bar, you got hired. That means something.
Yeah.
Everyone feels a bit lost at first, and comparing yourself to others just makes you feel worse.
So how do you deal with that not good enough feeling? I mean, that's got to be tough to shake.
It can be tough, but there are things you can do. Focus on what you're good at, your
Yeah.
accomplishments. You got here for a reason. Remind yourself of your skills, your talents. Also, find a mentor, someone you can trust to guide you and support you. Someone who's been there can make a huge difference.
Having someone to talk to bounce ideas off of, that can really help navigate those early challenges. It seems like there are some big changes happening in law firm culture itself, right? Are things actually changing or is it just talk?
There are some big shifts happening, especially when it comes to work-life balance, diversity and inclusion, and mentorship. It's being driven by younger generations coming in with different expectations. They want a supportive, inclusive environment that values their well-being, not just a paycheck.
That's encouraging. But are firms really following through or is it just lip service?
It's a bit of both,
Mhm.
honestly. Some firms are really embracing these changes and making progress.
Mm.
Others are still playing catch-up. But the fact that these conversations are happening is a positive sign.
So things are looking up. Speaking of building connections, let's talk about networking. I'm not talking about those awkward happy hour things. The One Legal Source really emphasized building genuine relationships with colleagues.
Exactly. It's about more than just networking events. It's about collaborating on projects, offering help, being responsive, and treating everyone with respect, from partners to paralegals. Basically, being a good colleague and a decent human being.
So it's going beyond the surface level and actually putting in the effort to build those relationships, but I'm guessing that takes time, right? And in such a demanding field.
It does, but the payoff is huge.
Yeah.
Seriously, a strong network can open so many doors, give you amazing mentorship, and even, boost your whole career trajectory.
So it's not just about being friendly, it's strategic too. But how do you actually build those genuine connections in such a crazy, busy environment?
A few things you can do. Be proactive. Go to firm events, volunteer for pro bono work, find those chances to collaborate with your colleagues. Also, be helpful, be responsive. If someone needs help, offer it. See someone struggling, lend a hand. And always respect everyone's time and expertise.
Makes sense being a team player, creating a positive environment, all that.
Exactly. And when you have that kind of environment, everyone wins. Work's more enjoyable, collaboration is smoother, and ultimately clients get better service.
Win-win all around. This whole long game thing keeps coming up. It's so easy to get caught in the day-to-day, but it sounds like focusing on those relationships, your well-being, constantly learning, all that, those are just as important for success in the long run.
100%. This year isn't just about surviving. It's about setting yourself up for a legal career that's fulfilling and impactful. And that takes a more holistic approach.
I'm sensing a theme here. Long-term thinking, building that foundation. And that brings us to rotation programs, something I know a lot of new lawyers are curious about. Our Sullivan and Worcester source, they explained how these programs let first years experience different departments within the firm.
Yeah, it's cool. It's not just about figuring out what you like to do. It's about building this wide range of skills, which makes you more valuable to the firm and opens up more career paths for you later on. Like, imagine a crash course in different areas of law, litigation, corporate stuff, intellectual property, you name it.
So you get to try different flavors of law, see what clicks, but can you really get good experience in such a short time?
Totally. Each rotation is meant to give you hands-on experience with real legal work. You'll be working directly with experienced attorneys on active cases, doing research, drafting stuff, even interacting with clients.
Wow, sounds like you're thrown right in.
Uh,
How do you make the most of these rotations then? Turn them into valuable learning experiences?
Here's the thing. Be proactive. Be engaged. Ask questions. Volunteer for assignments. Get feedback from your supervisors. Network with the attorneys you're working with. Those connections can be super important as your career grows. And take notes. Really think about what you're learning.
Like a legal boot camp, but you're not just learning the law, you're building your network and those key skills.
Love that analogy.
Okay.
And it goes back to that finisher thing we talked about. It's not just showing up, it's being involved, contributing, showing how committed you are to learning and growing.
This is all amazing advice. But I gotta ask, we've talked a lot about the practical stuff, but what about the emotional side? Starting a new career, especially something as demanding as law, it can be pretty intimidating.
Oh, for sure. It's a huge change, and it's totally normal to feel overwhelmed, stressed, maybe even a bit lost. Remember that imposter syndrome we talked about? Yeah, that can really kick in during those first few months.
So what can you do to handle those feelings? To stay grounded amidst the chaos?
First off, take care of yourself.
Hmm.
Basic stuff, but crucial. Sleep, exercise, healthy food. These things matter, especially for your mental well-being.
Easy to let that stuff slide when you're working crazy hours and trying to prove yourself.
Totally. But neglecting yourself just hurts your performance in the long run, makes those long hours even harder. Also, find healthy ways to de-stress, spending time with people you care about, hobbies, even just taking some time for yourself each day to unwind. Do things you enjoy, recharge.
So it's not selfish, it's essential. And that brings us back to having a mentor, right? Someone to talk to, get support from.
Exactly. A good mentor can give you so much guidance, not just about the legal stuff, but about dealing with the emotional roller coaster that is being a first-year associate.
Sounds like a good support system is key for getting through this first year.
It really is.
Yeah.
And remember, you're not alone in this. Every lawyer has been there, and there are resources to help. Don't be afraid to reach out to your firm's mentorship program. Connect with your law school alumni network. Join some online forums for first years.
Good reminder that even when it feels like you're on your own, you're part of a bigger community. And that community can offer support, guidance, a sense of belonging, all of that. It does. Knowing you're not alone can make all the difference. Now, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned about younger lawyers changing firm culture. What are they pushing for, specifically?
Well, work-life balance is huge. Younger lawyers, they're just not as willing to sacrifice their personal lives for their careers. They want more flexibility,
Yeah.
options for remote work, more focus on mental health and well-being, all of that.
It is a different mindset than, say, older generations who felt like they had to grind it out, sacrifice everything to climb the ladder.
It is. And firms are starting to realize it's not just some generational thing. It's a real shift in values. If
Yeah.
they want to attract and keep top talent, they got to adapt.
So firms are having to evolve,
Yeah.
which is good for everyone, really. What about diversity and inclusion? Are younger lawyers pushing for change there, too?
Oh, absolutely. There's way more awareness now about the need for more diversity in law. And I'm not just talking about race and gender, socioeconomic background, sexual orientation, disability, all of it.
Because a more diverse legal profession means a more just legal system for everyone.
Exactly. And younger lawyers are leading the way in pushing for policies that actually promote diversity and inclusion in firms. They're holding firms accountable for creating a truly welcoming environment for everyone, no matter their background.
So they're not just accepting the way things are, they're actively working to change the profession, make it more reflective of the world we live in. Now, before we finish up this deep dive, I want to touch on finding your purpose as a lawyer. You talked about remembering the why behind the work. How can our listener, this new first-year associate, start to figure out their purpose in such a demanding and, let's be honest, sometimes overwhelming field?
That's a great question. And it's something every young lawyer should be thinking about. Your purpose might change over time, but it's important to start reflecting on it early on. A few things to think about. What drew you to law in the first place? Was it a passion for social justice, wanting to help people? A fascination with, how the legal system works? Going back to those early motivations, that can really rekindle your sense of purpose.
It's so easy to lose sight of that stuff when you're caught up in the day-to-day grind.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to make time to reflect. Another thing, find ways to connect your work with your values. If you're passionate about, say, environmental law, look for opportunities to work on those kinds of cases. If you're driven by social justice, think about pro bono work with organizations that share your values.
So being deliberate about the work you take on, the impact you want to make.
Yep. And lastly, your purpose doesn't have to be this huge world-changing thing. It can be as simple as making a difference in your clients' lives, being a mentor to a younger associate, or just contributing to a more positive work environment.
Finding meaning in those everyday moments, knowing that even small actions can have a ripple effect. Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. What are the key takeaways you want our listener to walk away with?
The most important things. Find a mentor, take care of yourself, build those genuine connections, and never stop learning. Oh, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Because we've all been first years, we all needed help along the way. Any final words of wisdom for our listener as they start this exciting new chapter?
Just remember, this first year is a journey, not a destination. There'll be tough times, but there'll also be moments of, real triumph, real growth. Embrace it all, learn from everything, and never lose sight of the impact you want to make.
So well said. All right, listeners, we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights, some practical advice for navigating the first year as an associate lawyer. It's going to be an amazing ride, and we're wishing you all the best.
You got this.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive. We'll see you next time.